After you have completed your orthographic assignments, it is now time for you to start learning how to draw an isometric view. The reason why we do an isometric view is because we want to show the viewer as much detail about the drawing as possible. So, if I had a toy, for example, that I wanted to sell to a manufacturing company, or I wanted a manufacturing company to build, I need to show them not only an orthographic depiction of that toy, but I have to show them an isometric view as well, because it gives a 3D look to the actual drawing itself, when in fact this is not a 3D drawing at all. It just appears so. Before starting any isometric drawing, we have to switch some of our settings. So I'm going to recreate this cube on the right here. This is a 3-inch cube, iso cube, with iso circles to the right, to the left, and on top. In order for me to do this drawing, I have to switch my settings to isometric viewing. So what I have to do next is type into the command line down here, OS for OSNAP, press enter. You're going to notice that this drafting settings tab will come up. It is going to provide me with a couple of different options. I always like to press O, snap, and enter, and it will usually give me these drafting settings. This is where I can switch my endpoints, my midpoints, which is basically what I have down to the left here. Now, I don't need to change any of that, but I can also go to the left here and I can change my polar tracking. So if I wanted to, I can switch my polar tracking to 30 degrees. I can then go over here to the snap and grid, and that's really what I'm looking for when I'm trying to switch over to an isometric viewing. So if you look all the way down here, it's telling you your grid snap is snapped to, or set to, a rectangular snap. We want to switch it to an isometric snap and then press OK. So now I have everything set to 30 degrees and an isometric snap on my grid. The next thing that I want to show you is the different options that you have. If you press F5, for example, and look into your command line, it says right down here, isoplane right. This means that I can only draw the right side of an isometric object when I'm in this plane. If I press F5 again, it says isoplane left. That means that I'm only going to be drawing the left side of my isometric object, and finally the top. That I want to complete first is going to be the right side. So I'm going to click F5 one more time, and isoplane right is going to come up on the command line. Now I hit the command line key. I come down to my starting point, which is going to be halfway between my border. And then if I go and know what else I'm going to do, I'm going to switch from polar tracking to from polar tracking to ortho tracking. So now all I can do when I'm in my right isoplane, I either can go straight up and down on the y-axis, or I'm only going to be clicking at the 30 degrees. So now I can go on the 30-degree angle, 3 enter, 3 up, 3 across, and C to close it out. The next side that I want to do is my left side. Press F5, isoplane left, press enter to redo my last command, 3. Now finally I want to do my top view. Press F5 so that it switches to isoplane top, and complete my 3-inch cube. The next thing that I want to do is make a iso circle. Now if I wanted to make a circle like these ones over on this cube right here, now if I just did a regular circle, it's not going to appear the way that I want it to. But first, before I start setting up my circles, I have to put in a couple of guidelines. So I'll put one guideline across this way, Now that I have my guidelines set, I can now find the center of every single one of these squares. The next thing I want to do is, now let's say that I did the regular circle, just to show you what it looks like, and I wanted to come to this centerpiece, or this center square right here, and I wanted to make a 1-inch diameter, a 1-inch radius circle. So I press 1, enter, and that's what it looks like. Notice the difference between this iso circle and this regular circle. This one doesn't look right. It doesn't look like it's sitting on the block correctly. However, this one actually does. So that's why we do not use a regular circle command whenever we're dealing with an isometric drawing. So this is where the axis N, or the ellipse command, comes in handy. If you do the drop down, you're going to say that you can do a center, an end, or the elliptical arc. We want to do the axis N. The next thing that we want to do is look at the options down here. You see where it says isocircle? I want to make it an isocircle command. So I press I, enter. Now I am in an ellipse isocircle command. It's telling me to specify the center of it. The center is going to be right here. Now if you notice, as I move my mouse, it doesn't look quite right. The reason is because it's set for the top view. So I need to switch my isometric viewing from top, not to right, but to the left side. And then I have to click, and then I have to type in my radius, which is 1. I'll do that for now for the right side. I click the ellipse command. I enter for isocircle. Find my center point. Notice that it's on the wrong plane. F5 to switch it to the correct plane. Press 1, enter as my radius. And it's that simple. And I'll do the top one. After you're done, all you have to do is erase all of the other lines, and you are good to go. After you are done with your isometric drawing, I always like to get out of the isometric snap and bring it back to rectangular. And I'll actually switch it back to polar as well. After you are done viewing this tutorial, you are going to replicate this 3-inch cube and place in the isocircles. This is going to be assignment 13. So open up your workspace and save it as the correct assignment. After you are done, this should challenge you enough to continue on to the next isometric views. You are going to go back to the orthographic views that you just did in assignments 9, 10, 11, and 12, and you are going to place in the isometric circle where they're supposed to be in every single one of these drawings. You are going to label them as assignment 14, 15, 16, and 17. After you are done completing all of the isometric drawings, you are going to print them out and place them into your binder in order. In addition, you should also be putting in not only the text for all of the assignments, but you should be putting in the dimensioning as well.